Listen, I am too excited today. I am with one of my former students. I absolutely love her. And we are catching up today at the very beginning of the new year. Taylor is going to be bringing some really, really cool advice, life experiences. And guess what? She was on a TED Talk. So we're going to have to talk about that. All right. So, Taylor, thank
Hi.
you.
No, thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I'm very excited to be here. So excited. Oh, I've been waiting for this. Let's do this. I'm ready.
Yes. So I want you to go ahead and let us know, who are you? Where are you from? What school did you go to?
Sure. So my name is Taylor. As she said before, I'm Taylor C. Because there's other Taylors, but I'm not the best Taylor. I am 24, from Chicago, born and raised. And I went to a very small private college in Holland, Michigan called Hope College. And I went there for electrical engineering.
Awesome. You hear that, guys? She's an engineer. That's right. So what made you decide that major?
So I did engineering in high school, actually. So I was part of a prep program called Propel. And basically you studied engineering for 4 years in high school.
Ooh.
So I studied the fundamentals of engineering while in high school, something my mom wanted me to be a part of. I always knew I wanted to be in STEM. I used to want to be a meteorologist, actually.
I love
I
that.
wanted to be a meteorologist for the longest time. And then I started the Propel program, and then I was like, maybe I want to be an engineer. And my teacher at the time told me I had some really good critical thinking skills and that could make me a good engineer. Even though I was terrible at math, I was able to get through it and be good enough to be able to get into a school. So I got into an engineering program. I applied to 27 colleges.
27.
And that's because I got the Common App for free, so I didn't have to pay.
That's right.
I didn't have to pay for most of my applications. So I was just applying to colleges that I met, and I was like, oh, this seems to sit my interesting place to go.
Yeah.
So I applied to 27 colleges. I got into 21 of them. Thank you.
Yes.
And I got into, out of those 21, about half of them had engineering programs. And so I got into about 10 of those engineering programs. And so I knew I wanted to be close to home because at the time I had some sick relatives and just I wasn't quite ready to go super far with
That's
my family.
Understandable.
So I was only about 2.5 hours away. And they paid for pretty much my entire tuition plus half my room and board. So
hey, we winning.
it was like I'm coming out of there with minimal debt compared to other people to pursue an engineering degree. So
absolutely,
it was a pretty. I also got into UIC's honors program, but with it, I was gonna have to pay a lot for UIC. So it just kind of made sense for my family's finances, as well as just I wanted the experience to go away.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how I survived becoming an adult. And I think it was the best decision for me, honestly. Yeah, it was the best decision out of all the options that I had. So
wow. And your Propel, let's go back to Propel. Your Propel program, was that part of your high school?
Yes. So my high school is one of the few high schools in the city that actually got accredited to have this program. You had to be accredited for this program. And you had to I had to go through an interview process to get in. So in 8th grade, I went through this really intense,
8th grade.
Yes, I had to do it. I had to start it, and I had to start the process in 8th grade to get accepted to start at my freshman year of high school. So I was in a gifted program all throughout middle school and high school.
And what was your high school?
So I went to Kenwood Academy, which is right down the street.
We are right across the street.
Bronco, the best, should have been a Bronco. It was the best decision. So I went there for 7th and 8th grade. I was in their gifted academic program. So I was actually doing high school classes while in 7th and 8th grade. So throughout high school, I did all AP courses. I did college courses. So I was one of those gifted kids that everyone talks about, a preppy. So then when Propel came around, my assistant principal was like, you're doing Propel, right? And my mom was like,
I love that.
I already submitted the application. So nice. I started doing that. My summer of my 8th grade, my summer before my freshman year of high school, I was doing all of the prep work for Propel.
So this is interesting because parents and students need to know that you really need to start earlier than 11th and 10th grade.
Yeah.
Even if you have some kind of inkling that you want to do STEM, I could totally see you as a meteorologist or engineer.
Everyone says that. Everyone says that. Yes.
Okay.
I used to love all of the meteorologists on like NBC 5. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. I used to I met them multiple times. My uncle would take me down to the studio early in the morning so I could meet them because I just had like the biggest, they're my idols.
Yes. And not only that, I would be there for your fashion. Hello, she's fashionable.
I'm a very fashionable meteorologist. And just being on TV. Yeah.
So. That would have been so awesome. Well, we still have time for that in your life.
Yes.
I mean, we do. We have all the things that we can do. I know you do that. So Taylor, let's describe your personality for me.
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's describe my personality. I think most people would say I'm very quirky. I have a little bit of quirkiness to me, which I have grown to love about myself. I think that's one of the most beautiful parts about myself. Very high energy, but also kind of tame. Like I'm not always always like sometimes I'm a little bit more tame. And then I'm a chameleon. I know how to kind of wrap myself in any space and kind of be a central point or bring people together, create community. I think those are like some of the core pieces of my personality. As I grow into this young woman that I am today, I'm learning like this is who I am.
Yeah, and you're a great listener.
Thank you. I try to be. I try to be.
You are a great listener, and I think you have been that way since I've known you.
I think having a mom who's a therapist, you kind of have to be a great listener because she's always been she's always wanted me to be really good at creating space for people in life. She's always been very intentional about doing that for me and teaching me how to do that for other people. I think because having a mom at home who was so good about being like, I'm here for you so you can be there for other people. Kind of just naturally started being like that.
Yeah, you are amazing at that. You are such a great listener. I think a lot of people kind of miss that, right? And I make sure that I hone in and make sure that I listen to points and that I'm listening to listen and not listening to react.
To respond.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So for that, I think you got that really, really early. And that's also a part of your personality. Burst of energy, I love it. Because you'll say something calm and then you go, and you're just like, that's the part that I remember. That's the part. I'm like, that's the part.
I do that a lot.
Yes, I totally love that about you.
I feel like I'm naturally a storyteller, and I just started realizing that. Yeah,
you're a great storyteller, and you like for people to tell you stories. Because I think that's what's so great about.
I love collecting people's life stories. It's one of my favorite. I love when people trust me to tell me their life stories.
Yes. What piece of advice did you take from high school entering college?
That's a really great question. My engineering prof that I had in high school, he was actually Russian, and he came here like in his late 20s, and he started pursuing engineering very late in life. And he was someone who's very instrumental in me having confidence enough to go actually do it at a collegiate level. And one thing that he really told me, that he really spoke life into me about, was that I am powerful enough to make any situation my own.
Yep.
So just because you feel like you don't belong, imposter syndrome is real. We don't talk about it enough. Just because you feel like you may not belong, you're not meant to be here, you have power inside of you to make yourself be where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Like you have it inside of you as a person to bring it out and go, I'm meant to be here.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to show people I'm meant to be here wherever you want to be. That's why you're right. I can still be a meteorologist at this age. Even though I have a whole nother career, if I want to go out and be it, I can still do it. Because I can make myself be a meteorologist. I have that power inside of me.
You really do. And you have the drive and the passion. And that's what I love about you. I think I've known you since you were 14.
Man, really?
I think 14, 15.
That feels so long.
I think I've known you. I think, and you know what? So what's interesting about meeting you at 15, you still have that core fire that you do now. And that's very, very awesome. When I first met you, I said, wow, she is super dope. Like DOPE, 90s reference, amazing, spectacular.
You honed into me immediately as
Oh,
soon as
yeah.
you met me, and I was like, what does she
I
see
was
in
like,
me? I it took me forever to see it, but you saw it in me immediately.
I sure.
I had a whole nother plan for myself in that program, and you were like, mm-mm, I have
Yes.
plans for you. And I think
Yes.
I'm thankful that you found me and was like, yeah, let's go. I have a
Yes.
plan for you.
Yes. And speaking of programs, which is interesting, parents and students, you guys need to look for extracurricular enrichment programs for yourself when you are in high school, because just being in high school is not going to cut it. You get to learn more about yourself when you're in extracurricular activities, and that can be sports, but it can also be other things. So what we're speaking of is that Taylor was part of a science enrichment program that she actually volunteered her time on Saturdays.
As a high school student to do. Yeah.
On Saturdays,
Yeah.
which is precious time. You could be in the bed sleeping, but here you are learning
Early
about.
in the mornings. My mom was adamant about that. I don't think I ever really had as a student, as a young kid. I never slept in and watched cartoons on Saturdays. My mom always had me in something. And I thank her for that because, like you said, because of that, I learned a lot about myself. I did dance for 16 years.
Wow.
People don't really know that about me. I actually wanted to be a professional dancer. Yeah. I did dance for like 16 years. I was in multiple STEM programs. I did the Museum of Science and Industry where I met Tanita. What else did I do? I was in multiple volunteering programs. I volunteered in multiple animal shelters. I volunteered for Alzheimer's associations across the city. I did a lot. My mom was like, if you have even a remote interest in it, she was going to find a program for me to go do something in it. Yes.
Wow. What was your most interesting enrichment activity? Program that you attended?
The museum.
Wow. Tell me why.
Because I created a lot of community. Like I still have people that I talk to from the museum today. That was I was so excited. You can It's hard to find like something that makes a 14, 15-year-old be excited to wake up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday and go to and be there at 9 a.m. in the morning. Like to be there, I was like excited. I had friends. It was a different form of friendship I had built and created. I could really be the most nerdy version of myself
Yes.
that I couldn't be in high school. And while my friends were like, oh, what are you guys doing this Saturday? I was like, oh, I already have a plan. I already know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I got to interact with all different types of people. Being at the museum and being able to do science experiments like live on the floor, I think gave me a lot of power to take it back into high school, because high school is a really rough place, especially when you don't really know yourself.
That's true.
And I think going to the high school I went to, sometimes there was a lot of popularity contests. So I didn't really fit in as much as I would hope to. So going to a place where I fit in perfectly, I fit in exactly. It was like I was a perfect puzzle piece in this program.
Yep.
It gave me the power to go back and go, I may not feel like I fit in here, but I know I fit in somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that in high school where you're not popular and you don't fit in. What piece of advice would you give a high schooler that fits that mold, that they're not popular and they don't fit in, to tell them to keep going?
Make that your strong suit.
Absolutely.
Make that who you are. Like, you're unique, you're different. You're not like, because you're gonna find that once you start entering the real world, people look for people who are vastly different. Your favorite people that you look at and that you're like, man, I want to be like them. They were not the coolest people. They did not everyone followed them around. I was unpopular, and I still ran for student council and won student council vice president. And my whole program was whole politics over popularity. Like, let's actually make something like a difference. That was my whole thing. And I called it out. And I found like my principal, my assistant principals love that about me. Like, that was actually, they used me in order to help bring more people into our school, like, and enrich our diversity within my high school. So I was like one of their crowning students, because I was like, yeah, I'm this unique quirky, different girl. I wear blazers every day in high
You
school.
did.
I wore cardigans. I was that preppy kid. I held that. Yeah, make that your strong suit. Like put on a cape of I'm different
That's
and
it.
fly. Please do.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. A cape.
Put on your unique cape and fly.
That's so true. And you know what's so crazy? We have even movies that talks about this. It dates back for so long that you have that popular child and they kind of peak.
Yes. Oh,
They
I love
peak
that
at
you said
high
that.
school.
I'm so proud I never peaked in high school. I'm so happy for myself. And I still have not peaked.
Right.
Because you know when you peak that it not that it like slopes downhill, but it's hard for you to ever really find new versions of yourself.
Mhm.
So know that if you have not hit your peak yet, it's because you're finding new versions of yourself. I have found a whole new Taylor at 24 than I was at 22, than I was at 21, than I was at 18, than I was at 17. I didn't think I could change this much. So the fact that I have and I've grown and people love my growth,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm happy that I was that
Yes.
nerdy kid in high school. I'm thankful for her more than I ever realized.
I think so too. I think you are evolving. Like the core of you is the same, but I think you will always evolve because you'll never stop learning. You're like me, you're a lifelong learner.
I love
Yeah.
learning about stuff. I have a
Yes,
passion for it. Yes.
you do. Going back to your time on Saturdays in Richmond, that's where I met you, right?
Mhm.
And I saw this very high energy, intellectual, intelligent, emotionally. You might not have thought so. this individual that I know that's going to really, really make some changes in this world. Um, what motivate you to be a humanitarian as a teen? Because you volunteered your time
Mm.
on Saturdays to learn science and teach that to small kids.
Oh, that's a really great. I think that's a core part of me that I never really realized that I had in me. This deep care for people's experiences and being a part of people's experiences, wanting to give people good experiences. I think some of my favorite things that ever happened at that museum was seeing this little shining light and twinkle in like kids' eyes when I would do live experiments on the floor,
Mhm.
or like every now and then, like we did the live TV show Tesla.
Yes.
We were on TV on Wednesdays, did a live show. I remember maybe 2 or 3 times there'd be a little kid that would point at me and go, "Mom, she was on TV."
Yeah.
See that, have that happen to you and be like, that being, I was a part of a core memory or a really good experience that a kid had with something that they're interested in.
Yeah.
And I think that, and so like, if there is a student out there who is like, I want to find what I'm interested in, find something, inkling, whatever it is. If you got even the smallest that you think you may like knitting, tell your parents or go
Yes.
look it up and go find something where you can sit down and do that on your weekends, on your off time. Being a part of people's experiences and making sure that people had a really good time when they were around me, it gives me life.
Yeah.
It gives me life. It helps me to push forward. And so I think having that opportunity to, as a teenager,
Yes.
you know, teenagers care about only a handful of things.
Yeah.
And being a part of other people's like Saturdays and them visiting museum, not many teenagers care. So also being in a room full of teenagers who cared about that,
Yes.
who wanted to do that, who were not getting paid to do it.
Not getting paid.
Yeah.
And put
That's
forth your
different.
best effort.
We were invested in learning about these topics and these science experiments to go give our best effort on the floor.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Tesla for a moment. Not only did you dedicate your time on Saturdays, but then you took it an extra step and you learned an entire script to teach on our local television station science, which is awesome. But you would have to rush after school to get to the studio. Tell me, what was the motivation behind that?
I felt so like blessed and lucky to be chosen to do that, because there were other students that wanted to be part of Tesla too. So I know that if when you saw something in me enough for you wanted me to be a part of Tesla every single year that I was in the program, I knew that this is not something small. And after a while, Tesla became a core part of me. I was so proud to be able to say that, yeah, I'm on TV. I do science experiments live. I get to talk about science to kids. Like, it's something that just gives you joy. Like, it's an experience. It's a thing that how many people can say that they've done that?
Yes.
I felt so lucky to be able to have the opportunity to have people see something in me from them wanting me to be a part of this. Because this is not something that you see happen often. And not a lot of times do adults trust teens to put them in that position, to put them on live television and basically say, hey, like, I'm trusting you to do your job, learn a script, and show up and show out. So for me, that was so, and I think about that now, like, I'm so thankful I took advantage of that and I didn't like play around with it. Like, I took it very seriously. To me, it was something really important. So I think having that trust that you guys had in me to show up and be a part of it and be a core member of Tesla. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I was like, I would rush out of school at 3:30 and be like, I gotta go. I cannot talk to you guys today. It's Wednesday. You know what Wednesday means for me. I gotta go.
I love that. And you were always there on time, fighting that Chicago traffic.
In my cardigan ready.
In the cardigan ready. And we have YouTube clips.
We have YouTube footage of that.
We have YouTube clips, which is awesome. So keeping it there, mentorship, right? Student educator at the time, right? And our relationship has evolved
beautifully too
past that. And I just want to talk about a few takeaways that I've just gathered from you, right? When you meet students and you meet them as teens, a lot of people give teens a lot of slack. I mean, a lot of
they sometimes give them a hard time.
They give them a hard time
because they look at them and don't think that they're capable of doing big things.
You created them. You created them. You have to mold them. But, like I said, sometimes people think teenagers are just these crazy, wild human beings just walking around in rage. And that's not the case. I think the whole communication piece shifts.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of communication. There's not a lot of thoughtful communication behind that. So when I met you, and I love meeting teens because you guys are the future, right? And you have innovative ideas. What I saw was innovation. I saw innovation. I saw futuristic. I love your commitment. And as an educator looking at you, it even instill that I have to even become a better educator. I have to communicate more. I have to provide more. I have to provide more experiences. And not only that, it was just a breath of fresh air to know that here we have someone that cares about their future, that cares about others. Yeah. So that just kind of continued to resonate with me. And throughout, you have been intentional about having a relationship with me, and I've been intentional about having a relationship with you. So it's just been so awesome to have you and continue to be in your life since 15.
I'm so blessed to have you. I would say this. A lot of people meet me, love me, especially adults. And it's been like that since I've been a little kid. Like, adults meet me, love me. Oh my gosh, she's so amazing. I hear that all the time.
You are.
And a lot of them want to, and it's when you say mentorship, want to mentor me. My mom was not having that. My mom was very particular about who had the opportunity to mentor me and be a part of that. When you and my mom met, my mom immediately turned to me and said, whatever she says, do.
Oh, wow.
I was like, huh? She's like, whatever Tanita wants out of you, do your best to do it.
Oh my goodness.
And my mom said that I can count maybe 3 times she's ever said that to me. You are one of those 3. My mom trusted you immediately. And I think because my mom trusted you and because we're so close, I knew that my mom trusted you, I could trust you.
That's right.
And you always made an environment for me where I knew that you had the best intention for us as students.
Yeah.
You cared more than anybody else in that program about us. You cared about us as human beings, not just as teenagers, not just as people that were volunteering or showed up.
No.
You cared about us as these little human beings that you could mold and you could add value to.
Yeah.
You trusted us deeply.
Oh,
you gave us freedom. You wanted to give us experiences. You didn't just see us as teenagers. They were like you were like, oh, we're going here. We're going here. We would be in places that's like, you were so adamant about making sure that the resources that you had were passed down onto us. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I always valued about you. And I was like, yeah, this lady could say jump and I'm just going to jump.
Oh, no, not like that.
But yeah,
we're going to jump in a ball of, a ball of fluffy balls.
Because I knew that you were going to take me somewhere that I was going to be really excited to be. Mm-hmm. I knew that wherever you took me was going to be a place that I was going to grow into this really great person, especially when it came to my STEM experiences.
Yeah, it really matters, right? It really, representation matters. How you pour into someone matters. There's a lot of people that are in education that don't want to be in education. And there are some teenagers that don't want to be there and make it hard, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not the majority. And sometimes the majority suffers. And in this program, we made it known that we didn't want that to happen. That majority.
You know the story of how I got into the program, right?
No.
You know, I wasn't supposed to be a part of the program. The program had closed and my mom had hounded Mr. Brass, one of the other educators in the program, to be like, can you take her application? I was not supposed to be a part of the program. My mom found out about the program a day after it had closed. And she called and said, I have it all together. He was like, ma'am, I can't take your student. And my mom hounded Mr. Brass to accept the application. My mom was like, you're going to wish that you took my daughter if you don't. I promise. Mr. Brass said, fine, I will take a look at it. And Mr. Brass he came up to my mom when I graduated and was like, that was one of the best decisions I ever made, was accepting Taylor Calloway's application.
Once he took a look at you and heard you, he couldn't deny. He couldn't deny. As a matter of fact, I even remember your module. And I normally don't remember students' modules, but you did the roller coaster. And the reason how I know you built this roller coaster, and you were talking about physics, and I forget what the concepts were, but I'm like, what?
You came up, you were asking questions, and you were just like, you know your stuff. I
was like, Tesla.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't wait. Yeah, I cannot wait to have her as a student. So thank you for that. That is always refreshing. I want to constantly keep being a pillar in the education community to help inspire,
especially for young Black women.
Yes.
And like you said, the representation, having you there, and having you be so like powerful and just you authentically you.
Yeah.
That was something I had never seen before, and I didn't know that could exist.
Yes.
In STEM until I met you.
Yes. Yeah. You get a little drawbacks, but that's okay. You have the credentials. You have the engineering background to do that.
I had to get that. Yeah.
So switching gears to college, what are some few things that stuck out to you that you take with you from college?
One, my power.
Nice.
Because I had to survive a lot to get through college. I had to fight for a lot of little bits of respect from my colleagues, from my professors, from my peers. I found my passion, and I love STEM. It'll always be a part of me, but my passion is not STEM. I figured out what I'm passionate about. And I remember someone asking me, what are you passionate about? And I couldn't answer that question my freshman year. By my senior year, I could tell you exactly what my passion was: justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion, easily. I figured that out. And that comes back to people's experiences. And I think lastly, community. Once again, like, I'm really about community. I'm really about building community. Yeah. I love introducing people. And so for me, I quickly became a core part of the community of students of color at my college, because I went to a PWI. If you don't know what that means, predominantly white institution. And there was not a lot of Black students on that campus.
Mm-hmm.
So I really had to bring together the few that were there
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that we all really stuck together and were there. I went through a lot in college. I had a lot of health issues.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled with my academics. It was hard to get through the engineering program. It was not easy. I don't look like what I've been through, but it was hard. I went through a lot. So because of that, I realized I can survive pretty much anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a power within me. I may be small in stature, but I'm big in spirit. And that's just what I know.
Big and mighty.
Mighty in my spirit. I can do anything.
You really can.
And so for me, I realized about myself that if I'm able to make it through a collegiate like this at this collegiate level,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I can do anything. And then I found out the things that make me tick, that give me that, man, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. I traveled to different colleges and did diversity curriculum. So I taught it to students. Yeah. Nice. I did a lot of speaking engagements. So I found my voice. Yeah. I always knew I had a voice, but to find your voice, to know it, to be able to hear it, to say, yep, that's me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what piece or pieces of advice would you give an engineering, a Black woman going into engineering in this space?
Just because you may be in a space where there's not a lot of people that look like you, know that there are a lot of women in this space. Lean in on them, find them, lean in on them, find your community quickly. Don't harp over and over about the fact that engineering does not look like us predominantly. Don't harp about it. Yeah. Don't hold on to it. Don't make it your crowning point. Push forward, push through that, right? What do you want to do engineering for? And find the reason you're doing it. For me, absolutely, it was being able to say that I was a Black woman engineer, having, like you said, having those credentials. It means something walking into STEM space. It's being able to say that I studied it, that I had it behind me. And I knew I wanted an engineering degree. Whether or not I was going to pursue it professionally, there was nothing else that interested me in college. Like I could have went into political science or business. I knew I would have been miserable, and I was not about I like to be challenged in things, right? Yeah. And so working in the space I am now, it gives me that critical thinking and that background to be able to do the work that I do. Mm-hmm. So I would say, know that whatever you do with that degree, know that it has power, right? Be purposeful. Find your voice, be outspoken, but don't make it your whole thing. Right? Push forward, push forward. You'll be okay. I promise you it's temporary for long-term gain. I'm proud of what I was able to do. Walking across that stage at that PWI and they saying my name and it's part of the electrical engineering group. My mom and dad, that's my baby. That was one of the most crowning points. And I was like, that's why I did what I did. Absolutely. To have this moment, to be so proud of myself, to say that I'm part of the 4% of people in the world. 4%. There's 4% Black women engineers. 4%. 4% of all engineers is Black women. Yeah, part of a small number. 4%.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
So yeah,
I would love to see in the near future with Gen Z to go ahead and create their own table and space. And
you know what? I've mentored or talked to a lot of young women or a lot of young Black men who are interested in engineering and are ready to go to college for it. There's more and more of us coming. That number is going to grow. Community is going to grow. I can't wait to see that. So know that right now you may feel like I'm alone. You're not. Your peers are coming. They're coming. I'm one of your peers. I got your back. So
absolutely. Taylor, this is on the spot because I'm like, take this off the top of your head. Do you know of any organizations that a high schooler or a young college student in engineering can tap into for support if they need it?
Tap into NSBE Quick, or there's also SHIP for Hispanic students. I forgot the name of the one for Asian American students. Tap into those. You can tap into those in high school and college. Those are great organizations. Tap into them, start getting connected to those. As well as there is a conference for engineers that happens yearly. It's a massive conference. I think it happens. I'll text you the name of it when I remember it, right? You can go as a high schooler or as a college student.
Wow, didn't know that.
You can. Also, tap into conference culture. You can do that as a high school and college student as well. Go to conferences. This is something I've been doing myself. I went to conferences in high school and college as well. Go to professional conferences. You can get scholarships as high schools and college students as well. It's a great place to network and find community and find people. So if you have an interest in something, there's a conference for everything. There's a conference for everything. Find it.
I love that.
Yeah. Conferences are great places.
I love that.
Yeah. Like, I honestly suggest that even sometimes more than internships. Go to conferences, know how to conduct yourself at a conference, know what you're looking for, know how to engage the right people. That's the best place to practice networking too.
I know. So speaking of internships, did you have any?
Yes, I did the Google internship.
Okay.
So I interned at Google. That was actually the first place I learned about imposter syndrome.
Let's talk about it.
The first place. So I got accepted into this coveted program that Google has. So right before you go off to college, you intern with them and you learn software engineering fundamentals.
I remember that.
Yeah, I knew that quickly also taught me I did not want to be a computer engineer. Really quickly, because I thought that's what I maybe wanted to pursue. No, software development, you gotta love it to really love it. I don't love it enough.
Right.
I respect people who really are into it. I'm actually currently learning Python, but that's probably about the max that I'll do. But learning that, I built a blog system that actually helps to find other blogs for blogs, and Google actually implemented it in their Google blog form, which is actually really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so I did that one, but I learned about imposter syndrome because we had a talk one day with a group of these high-level directors of engineering at Google. And they all talked about how they feel like they don't belong even currently at their jobs. To hear people who have been in engineering for 12 to 20 plus years, who are high-level directors at Google, say that they don't feel like they belong, I realized this is critical. This is critical. There is something going on, because I actually wanted to leave the program and they would not let me leave the program. They were like, no, we want you to stay. So what do we need to do? And I was like, I just don't feel like I belong here. And that's when they started bringing in more people to talk to us about what their experiences are. And like, if this is not for you, it's okay. And so I quickly realized, okay, I'm not at that level where I don't feel like I can't belong. The space right now, this is a lot for me. I know I didn't want to do computer engineering, but let me stick in this.
Absolutely.
Let me stick and go through this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was really powerful for me. But I learned that, and I'm so thankful that I learned that then, because I experienced it a lot in college, but I knew how to pinpoint it and say, okay, I'm suffering right now. I'm having imposter syndrome. Let me take a step back. Why do I feel that way? Who can I talk to? And luckily I had some really great professors who were always like, hey, like, how are you feeling? I could walk into their office and tell them, hey, I don't feel like I'm getting anything right now. And they would sit down with me. So that was really like, so I found people who could also help me walk through the fact of why did I feel like that? And what was actually the underlying emotion? The same way they say anger is a secondary emotion.
Yeah.
There's something underlying in imposter syndrome. It's not just that. There's something else under there that you need to tackle. Maybe it's frustration. Maybe you are not understanding a concept and you feel like you should. So you feel like, oh man, everyone else gets it. But maybe everyone else doesn't get it.
Wow. So wait a minute. What is the basic terminology for imposter syndrome? I remember you talking to me about it, and that was actually that was one of the first times I heard about it. So what is that?
So imposter syndrome is basically when you have the qualifications to be somewhere and you still feel like you don't belong. So you fit all the criteria of being in a certain position, being in a certain space, being in a certain community, and you still feel like you're not a good fit for this place, like you don't belong there. And typically what comes of that is this second guessing and extreme doubt in yourself.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so you feel like you start to talk to yourself in very negative ways, like, see, everyone else gets it and I don't, or everyone else is doing better than me, or man, I know I'm behind, or I'm supposed to be here. Always feeling like you're supposed to get something or be at a certain level and you're not there, right? And so I think my generation, right, like this Gen Z and millennial generation specifically, we are imposter syndrome city.
Wow.
Especially when it comes to finances and money.
Yeah.
Because we feel like we're supposed to be making a certain level of money at a certain age. And when you're not, you feel like you're less than.
Yeah, like I don't get how Gen Z is, and I don't like to stereotype. I'm coming to this thing where people are like, "Oh yeah, Gen Z and millennial," like you all don't fit into that box.
You don't fit into just a box of that.
the students that I've taught that are Gen Z they're really outside of that box that everybody put Gen Z in. You guys are really outside of that box. So, tapping into imposter syndrome, it's just best that you know that you're going to get there. When you're 22, 23, coming out of college, you are not going to potentially get six figures.
You are not going to make $100,000.
And you might have chose a major that don't even reach six figures.
I hire engineers for a living. They don't make $100,000 right out of college. So unfortunately, we are in this space right now where, you feel like you're supposed to be able to, like, it's okay if you're not traveling yet. You're gonna travel.
It's okay.
It's okay if you don't have a car, you don't have your own place. You will get there.
You will get there.
We have allowed everyone else to teach us how to live life instead of living it for ourselves.
Absolutely. And you have to do it at your own pace. Just get experience, get experience. And I get it. But the world is telling you the 9 to 5 is not so great. And whatever you want to do, entrepreneurship, whether you're going to have a job, you're going to have to work hard at it. It's the consistency.
Yes.
They both have the same end goals, the consistency to make a living, and if you're really passionate about what you're doing on your job, the consistency of putting that passion to do whatever you sought out to do. But yeah, I think the fact that you're putting extra pressure on, I need to be with this person with six figures. I'm hearing a lot from that generation per se. I have to make six figures. It's not going to happen at 22, 23. And if it does, those are anomalies.
Yes.
The majority of your generation is not making that coming out of college.
Some people aren't getting there until their 30s.
And then some people will never get there in a lifetime.
Doesn't make you less than.
It really doesn't. And you have to tap into what makes you feel good.
Yep. Agreed. Live at your own pace.
Goodness. Live at your own pace. So that will probably help with some of the imposter.
Yes. Figure out what your pace is. Know that your experiences, what you do experience, is you learning how to live at your own pace.
Okay. So let's segue into, you do this for a living. You're a technical recruiter.
Yes, I do. So I always like to tell people, because when I say technical recruiter, it's kind of almost like, So I hire engineers for a living for a global tech company. And so basically what I do is, having that background in engineering, being able to talk tech, I'm able to hire a lot of software developers, DevOps, cloud engineers. I'm all over the spectrum. And that, I love my job. I get to do really, really cool work. That's why I really push conferences, because I go to a lot of conferences for work, because I get to travel a lot for work as well. And so I always say, like, if you want to be in the tech space, but you don't so much want to be technical, it's a great place to start as well, because you get a lot of exposure into what that looks like as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it was a thing until I got hired at my job. So what a lot of people don't know is that I actually went for an internship with the job that I went for, and they hired me full time after meeting me.
Duh.
And it was like, we'll teach you how to be a recruiter. And so
Yeah.
I've been promoted. I've been in there for 2 years, been promoted twice, traveled all across the country for work. I've really been able to make this my own and really learn and be a really good recruiter. So going back to making sure people have good experiences when they're around me, I want to be different in being a recruiter, and that when you work with me, I'm going to make sure that whatever comes out of this, if you're getting a job with my company, you've had the best experience with me. Like, you have been able to really figure out, this is what I want to do, right? This is what I want to make. This is the type of team I want to be a part of. I'm very intentional about putting the right people in the right places. So I don't just hire anybody. And also, I'm very good about giving people advice. Like, hey, let me give you some quick advice here on how to be as well. And a lot of people won't give that. But I don't believe, the right people are going to find the right places. So I feel like because of that, I love the work that I do, because I'm very intentional about creating the best experiences for everybody. And I do that very well.
You do that very well. And that's a no-brainer. That's why I said, duh. They meet you and they're like, hey, sign on the dotted line. We want to hire you now.
Yes. So yeah, it found me.
Wow. So what would be a piece of advice or a tip if someone wants to break into the tech industry, if they're applying for a job or they're interviewing?
One, do it like it's a job. If you're applying for, and this is just all across the board, tech, non-tech, if you're applying for a job, you're looking for a new job, treat it like it is a job. You're going to have to wake up 8, take a lunch break. That's what I did. I was a nonstop when I was looking for my first job out of college. Treat it like it is a job. You will find more success doing that. Another thing is be able to talk about yourself in quick, concise, easy ways. Be able to, even if they don't ask you what your strengths are, show your strengths.
Absolutely.
Right? Don't just talk about your strengths. Show your strengths within the interview. And be willing to be able to brag a little bit. Like, talk about what the cool parts about you are. People want to hear that. I want to know more about you as a human being than I do just want to know about what your resume is. Your resume is a flat, it's like just a quick little snapshot of who you are.
Absolutely.
Right? I want to know about what's the cool parts about you, right? Because this is what I talk to the hiring manager about. And I tell them, hey, this is this really cool person that I've met. Like, they have X, Y, and Z. Great resume, but look at what they can also do outside of that, right? Those are the things. So be able to do those things like really quickly and easily with a lot of ability. Practice that a lot, and you'll find yourself being able to get into those first and second interview rounds quicker.
Wow. Are y'all looking for more well-rounded engineers
People
nowadays?
People that can talk. Because what is also happening is engineering is start to having a little bit more client facing than it was just like your head down, just coding, right? Engineering is moving into a place of communal work where you're working within teams, you're sharing stuff together, right? And I think that's happening across the board. So we want more well-rounded people that are wanting to be a part of teams. Don't just want to be individual contributors, but want to build and grow teams. So that's why I definitely encourage, like, if you are in college right now for engineering, do more than just engineering. Take advantage of the resources in your college and find other passions, because those are going to be the things that create interest in people, and figure out what areas of engineering you want to be a part of. So that's another thing. If you're looking at breaking into tech, right? Don't just look at all tech, right? Figure out if you want to go into ad tech, market tech, if you want to go into fintech, if you want to go into crypto tech, figure out where you want to fall and land in, and start getting some cool skill sets that make you an asset to that type of community, to that type of market, right? So that's going to get you in the door quicker too, because you know what you want.
Okay. That is some great advice.
Yes. Yeah.
That is. And you kind of want to be more well-rounded, because, you know, the stereotypical engineer is this white male, you know, speak your jargon, nobody understands, which
head down, nerdy, doesn't know how to speak to people. Yeah.
Rude.
Yeah. No, don't be that. You're different. You can be different.
Don't do that. Please don't do that. Like,
and I'm finding it's changing. Like, a lot of my coworkers and colleagues that I work with within R&D in my company, they're very well-rounded people. We talk about what their weekend plans are all the time, and it's never about engineering. So yeah,
that's a great thing. Okay, because you can't be what you do.
You cannot be what you do. If that is a piece of advice that you should take away from this, you cannot be what you do all the time.
You really can't. That's absolutely crazy. So, technical recruiter, college engineering, extensive, complicated major. In between that, you decided to do a TED Talk. You are one of a few that has actually conducted a TED Talk. Taylor did a TED Talk, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, all of this is going on in your collegiate journey, in your life learning collegiate journey, and then you decide to do a TED Talk. Tell me, what was the purpose? What was the initial? I'm going to do a TED Talk.
Ooh, Well, so this was the first time my school ever offered. So basically, I did it through my college. This was the first time that we ever did this. Like I was part of the first cohort of like people out of my college that did a TED Talk. So it was about, I want to say 300 people applied, 10 got chosen. Only 10 people got chosen out of all the applicants. So I was part of the 10. And when the applications first came out, I remember being like, I feel like I'm supposed to do that. Like it was just something in me that told me, you need to try this. Like you need to try to do this. I'd already had a little bit of reputation on my campus as being someone that people called on a lot to speak or, represent. So like I said, I traveled across the country and taught diversity curriculum. So I knew that if I was going to speak about anything, it was going to be about diversity easily. And I was like, I want to do something big. I want to do something controversial. I want to do something that says, boom, I'm here. I wanted to end my senior year out with a heck of a bang. And I was like, this is a way to do it. This is the way to be able to say, yeah, Taylor Calloway is here. Like she's doing something.
Yeah.
So I applied for it. I did you had to basically do an audition. So you had to go and audition in front of the team. So you had to do 2 to 3 minutes of what your TED Talk would be. So I did it, it was done. I waited about a week and I got my acceptance letter a week later exactly. And I was like, I called my mom and I screamed and I was like, I'm doing a TED Talk. I didn't tell my parents about it at all. They had no clue that I'd even applied for it. I just wanted to tell people if I got accepted.
Absolutely.
So I was like, I'm doing it. And everyone was like, what? Whoa. And yeah, I did a TED Talk. So my TED Talk is called Why You Need a Black Friend. And it's talking about how we diversify using socialization. So it's who you're friends with, it's who you talk to, it's who you communicate with, it's who you build community with, right? Echoing that word again, community. I love that. I love community. And so, yeah, I think for me, my biggest motivation was I want to do something that defines my college career, but also can define who I am as a person moving forward. So if people go, who are you? I just show them the TED Talk. This is me. This is what I'm passionate about. This is who I am. This is how I present myself to the world. So,
yeah, you started off your TED Talk with a Will Smith quote that talked about the 5 closest friends, which there are so many different people that have a take on that, but it resonates because it's true. You are the average of the 5 people
you're closest
to.
You are. And it shows up in how you're able to also walk into other spaces. Right? It shows up in that. My friends, I'm comfortable taking my friends everywhere with me because I know they're just like me. Like we are chameleons. We're able to go into a space and add value, add community, bring something different into the space, right? So how do your friends also represent you, right? If someone was to meet one of your friends and they went, oh, I'm so-and-so's friend, right? What is this person going to think about you? Just based off of communicating and connecting with this person.
Absolutely.
When people meet my friends, they're like, it makes sense why you guys are friends.
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm just thinking about 2 of your friends off the top of my head.
Yep.
I go, yep, that makes sense. They're good feathers. Good feathers on the bird.
I love that. Yes.
Absolutely. And it's true. You are the average of the 5 people that you hang around the most. So if you're going to hang out with riffraff, you're riffraff. Like, how can you get away from that?
And it's also about your worldview. How do you view the world? What do you value, right? If you're around people who value other people, then you're going to also value others, right? If you're around people who are very boxed in, who only want to do a specific set of things, who never want to explore, never want to adventure, that's going to eventually become you as well, regardless of who you are, right? And that's one of the biggest takeaways I wanted to let people know as well. And also going to the college that I went to, looking at justice and DEI, how do we change our world for the better? How to create a more just society, right? Who are you hanging out with? Are you hanging out with people who have the same moral values as you, the same moral compass as you, right? And if so, then making sure that it is a moral compass that creates better and better human beings. My mom always talks about be the best human being you can be. Your friends challenge you to be a better human being.
That's true. There should be a challenge.
There should be. And I think especially as Black people, what we've gone through as
Mhm.
community, what we've gone through as Black people in this country, our moral compass and our moral values are very aligned to each other. We know what's right and wrong, right?
Mhm.
Because we've experienced things.
Yep.
And so with that, that's why I say why you need a Black friend. It improves your moral compass and moral code too.
Mhm. Absolutely. I was looking through some of your comments, and there was one that says, "Ah, I hate that you bring race into this." And then you had another person to comment, and the commenter went off and said, "Well, these are the reasons why." So they kind of went back and
Yes, and I love that. I want it to be so controversial that it caused discussion, that it made
Mhm.
people look into themselves, and it made people also be called out too, because that's what we need. Like, if you got to get called out over something, then let's do it now. But
Mhm.
do it in a space where you've got the right people that are calling you out, people that know things, people that are aware too. So that was what I
Mhm.
wanted as well. So yeah.
Nice. How did you feel on stage and then after you completed the TED Talk?
It went by in a blur. I walked out and then I was walking back off stage before I knew it. It went by so quick. And that's why they tell you to breathe in that moment and take a moment. So when I got on stage, they didn't show it in the video, but I told everyone, can we just take a minute to just breathe in together and breathe out? I just want to enjoy this moment and be able to say, yeah. And at the end of it, I stood on stage and I let people clap for me. And I was just like, I did it. Because it goes by so quick when you do it. I spent 4 months preparing for the TED Talk because I had to memorize the entirety of my script before going up there. I spent 4 months preparing, and that was a rigorous 4 months preparing for it.
Mhm.
So to do 4 months of work and then have it be done in 16 minutes exactly, I was like, yeah, I need to enjoy this moment. But I literally came off stage, took off my heels, and I ran around. I ran around the auditorium while everyone else was still inside. I ran around it because I was like, I just did that. And then people immediately started calling me. And it was beautiful also to have my entire family there. Because afterwards, running into the arms of your parents who have such beaming pride for you after you do something like this, yeah. Felt great.
Oh my God. I want to talk about your parents in just a moment because let me tell you, the anchor. I want to talk about this. So you made a mention that you practiced for 4 months. You know, life is about practice, rehearsal, and game. A lot of people don't understand that in order to become great at whatever you do, you have to practice, you have to rehearse, and you have to rehearse and practice the right way,
Yeah.
not the wrong way,
Yeah.
but the right way. So you have to be intentional in how you show up for yourself.
Yes. That was frustrating, but I'm so happy I learned that lesson. So I was like, I'm good at this. Why do I need to practice for 4 months? Like, I'm good. I don't need to be a part. No, I did. Every moment I spent rehearsing at rehearsals, at dress rehearsals, going on stage, listening to everyone's TED Talk, jumping up there, having to do and the people that were running it were great people. They were also very adamant about this thing needs to run smooth. They're like, this is the first one. We cannot play games. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are doing too much. But no, I'm so happy that it went the way it did. It taught me where practice truly does make perfect.
Yeah.
And we say that way too casually, but practicing it, hearing myself, realizing, wait, how does that sound? Wait, how am I presenting it? Wait, what do I want the impact to be, right?
Yeah.
Everything I did down to my movements were all practice, rehearsed, and intentional. I wasn't just willy-nilly putting my hand. No, I was being very intentional down to my hand movements, down to the movements of my head, what I look like, the pauses, the spaces in between words. I was so intentional about every single piece of that because I knew for a fact, one, how it's going to be edited.
Yeah.
And two, I want to give space for people to hear what they just heard and go, ooh,
absolutely.
Apply it in the moment, real time. So yeah, practice truly does make perfect.
And like you say, sometimes you just need to take a moment, listen to what I just said.
Like we said at the beginning, listen to not respond, but listen to hear, to know, to take it in. Yeah.
So good. TED Talk. Oh my goodness. Will you do another one? in the
That
future.
is the plan. That is the plan. I recently started connecting with the TEDx Chicago here in Chicago group. Yeah, my plan is to work on getting in there eventually and doing another one. I think it's about time.
I think so
I
too.
think it's about time.
I think so too. And we'll be showing out with some flowers and everything.
I can't wait.
Oh my God, so excited about that. Switching gears to your parents, let's talk about um, relationships. What I'm hearing from, and I don't particularly know these particular young folks that are in Gen Z, but what I do know is I know the students that I've taught. Okay. And what I have noticed is a trend with students that are successful and they're confident within themselves, or they're able to take a loss or take a setback and not have it to destroy their life. They're able to take in mistakes and learn from them and move forward. And the things that they have in common is a strong relationship with their parents, a strong, positive relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, talk to me about your relationship first with your mom. I would love to say she's the anchor, she holds down the ship, the submarine, the everything.
She does. That is my girl. My mom taught me how to fail and how to celebrate success. And parents don't teach that enough to their kids. My mom taught me how to take a failure and how to not make it everything. And my mom taught me how to properly celebrate my successes. My mom taught me how to do a lot of things. And your parents are supposed to teach you, but your parents are also supposed to guide you and implement certain things into you, right? My mom knew that her life experiences were valuable for me to know about, so that not just so I wouldn't make the same mistakes, but I would know, like, this is how things can spiral. Like, this is how things can happen, right? Like, this is how one decision you make can affect multiple other people. My mom taught me a lot about that. And she was very good in being very intentional. And like I said, my mom's a therapist, so we would have really intentional conversations about my emotions, my feelings, being very aware, learning how to be vulnerable, learning how to sit in really uncomfortable conversations, learning how to deal with conflict, like those little things. My mom was very, very good about having all of those intentional conversations. My mom always told me, you are this little moldable thing that now is going to experience all these big emotions, and it's my job to help you navigate them. And when she said that, it made sense about every decision she ever made for me. My mom wanted me to know that you're going to go in the world. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to hurt. You're going to suffer. You're going to have moments where you're like, nothing is working. But what I can give you is the tools and resources to be able to go, I know, though, if I stick through this, I can navigate it. I can get to the other side. I will be okay.
Right.
And she knew I was going to fail a lot, especially when you're at a really high place in your academics, right? So you are studying really hard concepts and you're in gifted programs since 7th grade and you go to a really hard college and you pursue a hard major. Failure is inevitable some way, somehow. You may not fail a class, but you're going to feel like a failure in other things because imposter syndrome will sneak in. Something's going to happen. You're going to face a certain level of failure. You got to know how to navigate that and not just shaking it off, but how to say, okay, looking at it as truly just a learning lesson, right? Like, how do you take that apart and look at all of the little things that contributed to that failure, right? And how do you say, okay, not just never again, but how you go, when it faces me again, this is how I'm going to show up.
Yes.
So yeah, my mom did a really good job at that.
She did. And I would love for her to talk with me and to share her wisdom to other parents that are also trying to navigate to guide their teens into a more productive way of how they could be utilizing their time. Because you do have time as a team to explore what you want so that you could go into college or your next phase to say, these are some of the things that I want to be doing. I may not know exactly, but like you said, I wanted to do electrical engineering. But when I got there, it's like, I'm going to use electrical engineering for this.
Yeah, be okay in the in between. My mom taught me that as well. Like, there's going to be some times where you're in between a couple of different things that you want to do and nothing feels concrete. You got to be okay. You got to navigate those kind of rocky waters really well and be able to say, okay, like I said before, I'm capable of a lot of things. I'm capable of some things I don't even know I'm capable of yet. And so I sit in that in between all the time and go, I can do all of these little things. And I'm going to try a little bit here. I'm going to try, like, so when people ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up right now? I just want to be really great. I want to make an impact. I want to do something really cool. I want to keep growing and evolving. I want people to look at me and go, man, she did it again. She did something
again.
Cool again. That's what I want. So figuring that out and having a mom who loves and supports that and goes, so what's next for us? Like, that's what my mom says all the time. What's next for us? Because we're in this relationship together. She's never stopped being my mom. And I think that's beautiful. That's something else that we gotta, I think, have more in our community of you're never going to stop being a parent to your kids. Never. I'm 24 and I do a lot of things myself independently, and I still go, Mom, consistently.
Listen. And I'm pretty sure my dad will be watching this too, because he's a huge supporter. Like, he watches all of my interviews.
I love that.
Yes. And he gets calls like at least 3 or 4 times a week. So, right, parenting don't stop because you've finished, a goal. It continues until it doesn't anymore.
It does. Like, it's funny, like, I started doing storytelling now. Like, I'm doing storytelling professionally. My parents, as soon as they heard that, were both like, so we got to come see you. Yeah. And I'm like, you have to come. Yes, we have to come see you. We need to see what this is all about. Oh yeah. My parents are both like, yeah, we got to come see what this is all about. The minute they saw me post about it, they were like, oh yeah,
I've got to come see this. Let's talk about Dad for a bit.
Yes.
So Dad has come to see you storytelling.
He's come to see me storytelling. Dad. So I get a lot of my humor from my dad, which I love. Me and my dad connect in really unique ways. My dad has always just been proud of the little things I do. And I think that's been really important.
Yes.
Yeah. My dad is always, one thing I can remember my dad saying all the time is, as long as you just tried, I'm proud of you. And that was like really important for me to hear, I think, as a little kid, and to take it into college. Because, like, I would go, Dad, I just tried. And he was like, well, I'm proud of you. I don't care what the outcome is. And I always really felt like that. So my dad, and seeing my dad celebrate me being this little 24-year-old woman now, yeah, he's so proud of me. He has just this pride and joy in me. It's like him watching me on stage do storytelling. He was just like, look at you. You up there just doing your own thing. Yeah. Oh, he's so proud of me. The little stuff I do, like when I send him like my little TikTok sometimes when I'm just being funny, he's always just like, look at you. You're hilarious. I love your humor. I just love that about my dad. He's proud of the little bitty things that I do more than the big things. And I think that's important to have as well.
Absolutely.
He offsets that. So
it's like a holistic, we are raising a holistic Taylor.
Yeah. My dad I get my music love from my dad a lot too. So my dad, he's a DJ, so I think that's really cool. So it's cool to also celebrate your parents. I love celebrating my parents as well. We having that give and take in relationship. So when my parents do something really cool, I love celebrating that, and we come together. So yeah, my parents are not together, but they're friends. So I think that's really cool to have them have a friendship. They teach me friendship as well. In that regard. So then also being with the both of them, sometimes it's just fun being around your parents. I always say I'm probably one of the few like kids who's 24 who wants to go hang out with their parents more than anything. I want to go hang out with my parents. Like when my dad calls me and says, hey, do you want to go to this old people's bar with me? Yes, I do.
Yes.
We go to old Polish bars together. I love doing
that. Do boating. You be on a boat.
Me and my dad go boating together. We go fishing. I love doing old stuff with my dad. It's like we go record hunting. Like we'll go and spend a whole Saturday just going to different record stores around the city. Like I love doing little stuff like that with him as well. I love hanging out with my mom. Me and her have dinner every Friday. We go out, take her out. We go into a nice dinner and we just sit and talk. I could talk to my mom about anything for hours. She truly is my best friend. She knows more about something sometimes my other friends do about my life. I can share with her about anything. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like we're parallel in that sense that when I was growing up, I liked to hang out with my parents. My dad recently have come to visit Naima and Charlie and I said, Dad, do you remember when you took me to go see Boys in the Hood? And he's like, yeah, you remember that? I'm like, yeah, because you know what? I remember his talk. He said, let me go to the movies with you so I can explain some of this.
I like that.
Let's go to the movies, and we're going to have a conversation about this movie afterwards. Let's dissect this movie and what it means.
I like that. Yeah, I like
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love hanging out with them. They are fantastic. But nowadays, I'm seeing parents talk about that they're afraid to talk to their child. And I'm like, first off, put the phone down.
Make an
You
and your student, make an environment where your kid like I love going to go bother my mom. Like if she's watching TikToks and I hear it in my room, I'll go in there and take her phone and be like, talk to me. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. I love doing that stuff. My mom and both my parents create an environment where when I'm around them, I want to be engaging with them.
Yeah.
You got to create that. Create an environment where your kids want to engage with you, when they want to do fun stuff with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say that my former students that are Gen Z, because I do have some students that are millennials, but those that are Gen Z that I've encountered, you all are outside of the box. You like engagement, and you have that in common. You have some really good positive relationships with your parents, and if not, a family member. So that is a common theme.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think about my uncle took me to see Transformers for the first time. That was our bonding moment. We watched all the Transformers together, and I love Transformers. So that was our bonding moment. We did that, and I loved that. So like that was something that even just outside of my parents, other family members pouring into me, wanting to spend that one-on-one time with me as well, seeing me as valuable and important enough to pour into me.
What advice would you give a young adult, a high schooler, about having a positive relationship with your parents?
Be patient. Yeah, I think sometimes it's something that we struggle with. Be patient with your parents. Sometimes they're learning, even still, how to engage and be connected to you. They sometimes, like you said, see us as kind of sometimes these irresponsible, kind of buck wild, like not. Just have some patience. Sometimes do the reaching out. Be like, Mom, Dad, like, can we just sit down and just talk for a little bit? And be like, what? I just want to, pick your brain about this, right? Like try little things like that. Be willing to be the reach out sometimes. You will find that as you grow older, those moments are really valuable and core memories for you because they feed into how you're going to grow as an adult. And then eventually one day you yourself are going to be the parent on the other end, right? And so you're going to want your kids to practice those same things that you did, right? So having that experience, having those stories where you were also part of that on the other end is going to be really helpful for you to know how to respond as well. And I think that's really valuable and important too. So I would say have just a little bit of patience. Like I think for me, my parents they were one point my age, and then all of a sudden they woke up one day and they were parents. So now they have to figure it out for themselves as well. There's no manual on being a good parent. You just gotta go take it as you must. And sometimes you're gonna have to be like, hey, like I gotta talk about my feelings with you so you can understand this is why I reacted the way I did with them. So
sometimes parents are not gonna tell you everything that you want to hear, but in the long run, they're trying to do their best.
They want you to be the best human being you can be. That's right. So I think for that, just have patience and know, okay, there is a reason for this. There's something deeper behind this than just a no. So
Yes, there's a why behind it. Love that. Good parents.
Good parents too.
I know they have raised a really good daughter.
I'm thankful for my parents. Yeah, I'm thankful for them.
Now let's talk about this. You have a lot of passions. What are you passionate about now?
I'm passionate about storytelling. I'm passionate about being on stage, sharing my voice, sharing my experiences with the world. I'm passionate about wine and not just the alcohol. I'm passionate about the science behind it, what makes it so cool and different.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm passionate about my friendships. I'm passionate about my growth. Yeah, those are things I'm super passionate about right now. And I'm passionate about the relationships that I have with people and making them better, like with you, with my mom, with my friends. I want to always strive to be closer and more connected and more available for them and for you guys in my life, my tribe. I'm very passionate about my tribe.
Absolutely. As you get older, I never thought that this was a well, I would hear my mom and my dad say this. They would say, as you get older, your circle gets smaller.
Yep.
And that's because as you get older, you have to know where to invest your time.
Agreed.
And you can invest your time with all of these friends. Some of these friends are not first degree, they could be fifth degree. We call them acquaintances. You have to be very intentional on who gets your time. So I love to see that you are intentionally creating, making sure that you're building relationships with those that intentionally needs and deserves your time.
Yes.
Not need your time, but
deserves it. Yeah, you got to learn that too. That's something that you are not learning. You'll learn that in college too, because you'll be ready to give your time to everybody at the beginning, and then you'll quickly learn you can't do that, and that'll expend too much for you as well. I think that's a really important part of the collegiate experience and just growing up too.
When I see someone and they tell me they have like an obscene amount of friends, I say 15. I'm like, what?
It's not gonna last forever.
I'm like, how are you able to cultivate 15 relationships?
And that's the thing that people don't understand.
Because 15 people is 15 relationships. A friendship is a relationship, people.
And honestly, it's probably one of the more valuable ones that you will ever have. A good friendship will make you a better person.
Absolutely. So you're into wines. I love wine, and I also love the science behind it too.
Yes.
So we have a Bantu and Bordeaux.
Yes. So I started a wine content brand called Bantu and Bordeaux, and I put my first post out there in last year in December. And so I'm creating content for it now because my long-term goal is to be a sommelier. And that's basically a wine expert, to keep it simple. And yeah, I don't know, something about wine is just so valuable and worth my time and investment into it because of the way it brings and builds community. Once again, like that's such an important component to me. I've seen wine create some of the best conversations I've ever had, right? And I think wine as well, the science behind it is so cool because you can take a grape and turn it into all different types of just really amazing, like all these different types of wines can come from a Cabernet, Sauvignon, like all of these from just one grape.
Yep.
And I think that's so amazing to me. And when I started to learn more about it behind it, I was like, this is something I want to get into.
Absolutely.
And I see why people are passionate about it, or I see why people enjoy it, right? To me, it's more, like I said, than just the alcohol. It's something about the learning process. And I'm a lifelong learner. So when I figure I can learn about something and I can get really invested in it, I get really excited about it.
Yeah, because when you think about it, it's just a grape.
It's just a grape, but it's
just a grape.
It's what you add to it that makes it.
It really is the fermentation, the soil, what you put the wine in,
what you age it in, how long, your vintage, your terroir, like all of these things, where it grows, the environment that it grows in. Yeah, I love those things. All the different types, all the different kinds you can drink too.
Yes, I can't wait for that and you teach me some wine testing or teach me some more things about the wines that you love. I cannot wait for that. Quick little story. We just went over to Charlie's friend's house and forgot the wine that we was supposed to bring because I love to bring quality wines.
You make good choices.
Yeah, I think over time, because I used to be a yellowtail girl in my early 20s. I told
we
people,
all were
yellowtail, menage. I hope they don't say that it's bad, but menage a trois. Ugh.
It's not the best.
Yeah,
they gotten a little better.
Barefoot.
Woo.
Yeah. So I think those are 20. Those are early 20s.
Those are early 20s wines for sure.
Early 20s. So his friend went and picked up some really good wines for myself and his wife. And I was thankful. I was like, this is pretty good. It was actually a decoy. I've
heard of that. Yes.
I was like, I'm skeptical, but it turned out to be a really good one. I think it was like a 2015
That's
I
a
said,
good vintage.
we're celebrating the new year with the
I was gonna say, that's a little
2015.
pricey. 2015, that's a nice vintage. We like that.
Yes.
Ooh.
And then one of my coworkers, we used to bond over wine. He was a big old wine enthusiast. And yeah, because I mean, the grape, it's just a grape, but it's bigger than that.
It's bigger than that. And I love when I meet other people that are really enthusiastic about it as well, because you
Yeah.
immediately have something to nerd out over together.
Oh,
Like,
of course.
it's really fun. Yeah.
Oh my
People
God.
that are like, oh, there's no, it's just wine. Mm-mm. When you taste a really good wine for the first time, and you're like, what is this? It changes your whole perspective.
Yes. Taylor, do you mind if we drop Bantu and Bordeaux into the comments?
Not at all. Not at all. Let's do it. Follow, know that there's some really cool stuff coming. I have some great ideas for it. And if you're interested in learning more about wine or you have any questions, I'm happy to be here. I'm studying sommelier.
All right.
Studying future sommelier.
Okay. That's going to be fantastic. And hopefully I'll be on the receiving end to some of those good wines, tastings.
Yes, you will, 100%.
You'll do all the legwork for us.
That is my whole job. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I love that. Okay, so let me ask you this. You're doing so well. I know that some people are struggling with some things and are finding things to help them, and then some people are just stuck and they talk about it over and over. Mm-hmm. So what is something you're struggling with and that you're working on to improve?
My consistency in things. Yeah, taking things and being consistent, executing on things. And I started to find my stride in this new season of my life, right? Knowing that my passions are there and they deserve my time and attention. And that was something that I really had to come to grips with and really understand and learn, that like your passions and the things that you are good at deserve your time and attention, right? And so those are the things that you got to really take a step into, right? Like we said before too, your career cannot be all you are.
It cannot
and
be.
So I think struggling with that as well and making sure that that's not all that I am, right? People may know me as a technical recruiter, but that's not just all Taylor is capable of, right? And not peaking. So I think for me, just struggling in seeing myself being a part of these communities, right? See myself as I should be a part of the wine community, right? I should be a part of those things. I still should be a part of justice and DEI. I still deserve to be a part of the tech recruitment field.
Absolutely.
I still deserve to be in tech. Like, all of those things, just making sure that I am showing up the best, right? So sometimes those are things that I definitely struggle with. I think people look at me and are like, man, you just take things in stride and you can just push forward. But that takes time and practice to do. It does. And sometimes it feels a lot more difficult. But I'm learning as I go, and I'm proud of myself for that.
I'm so proud of you. And, working on consistency is very, like that's a lifelong thing.
Yes.
Like different things will happen and you'll have to get back on board and work on the consistency.
Just get back on the train. Every single time I fall, I get back on the train.
Get back on the train. Choo choo.
Yes.
Oh my God, but the trains here, we need to improve them trains.
Trains.
I took a train ride from Venice to Rome. I was just like, what? Why don't we have this?
So behind on stuff.
We
are so behind. I took a train in Dublin and I was like, this thing goes fast. This must be nice.
I said the Amtrak. I'm like, we got to do better. We have got to do better. Okay, awesome. So let me ask you this, Taylor. What is a piece of advice or advice that you are incorporating in your adult life currently?
That's a really great one. This is a good one. I am not letting other people dictate how I love others. And so breaking that down in the fact that I want to be love, right? Like I want to embody love. I want to embody light and being bright, bring a shining star. And so sometimes what happens is you're going to walk into a world full of people who are just angry about the world. Right. We deal with a lot on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
We can just get really angry about little things and we take it to heart and we make it who we are. Yeah. And I don't want that to be me. I always want to show up and show brightness and be light and love. So I don't let the pain that exists in other people dictate how I approach and love others. And that's been something I've really been practicing. It's just showing up and being able to say, like, today I want to be loving towards everybody that I meet. I want to make someone's day better just by being who I am. And that was actually something I got from my mom, was that she was very adamant about me being able to push past the hurt and the pain that I was going to feel from others and be able to still say, I want to show up and I want to be still like a really great human being to others. I want to be someone, my smile sometimes can just make someone's day feel just a bit better. Like, man, I'm so happy I got to see your smile. Like, it gave me life. It gave me a jolt.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and like, we are in a world right now, we're very individualistic, and we want to stick into our like little four walls and not be out there for people and not be present for people. And I don't want to be that.
No.
So yeah, that's what I'm applying right now, is being that. And I think I do that by being on stage and talking to people and collecting people's life experiences and being a good listener and being someone who is always approachable.
You are approachable, and I love that. I think I've talked to you about this before, right? It's so individualistic. You pride yourself on not letting anyone in, being alone, spending time alone. And then on the flip side, you go, I'm alone, I'm depressed.
Yeah, I'm isolated.
I'm isolated.
I can be alone, but I never feel lonely. Sometimes being by myself is necessary for me to recharge, but I know I'm never lonely because I practice community, because I'm good about doing that when I'm outside and I'm connecting with people. I'm very good about being intentional in how I connect. I don't just waste time connecting with people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when things happen, you want people to be there for you, right? And you can lean on. I was just having this conversation with my husband, Charlie, the other day. His friend lost his wife 2 years ago. So all of the friends, they come over all the time. They show up, knock on the door. We brought this. They come over, sit down, have a few beers. They are still in this season of making sure that he's not alone, for too long. But you can't do that when you're isolating everybody. You have this individualistic approaches. If you can just handle all of these things, because of that, they are showing up for him, and they still are.
Yes, I love that.
Yes, I love it too. I was just like, this is fantastic. I like it too.
That's such community.
What do you think has contributed to your internal motivation?
The stories of others, the stories of my family, seeing others persevere and knowing that I can be that same way. The representation I've had. I've been very lucky and special, and very blessed to be able to have some really great representation of women, of Black women, of Black men, of people of color, and just of people, period, who I feel like do represent me, who have been through life and have survived it, been successful. And so I think seeing that and knowing I can be that, like I can do that, like I can take myself there, and taking that and being like, that is my internal power, is seeing someone and being like, yes, I can do that. I know I can. So like, that has really been like a push and like a motivation for me. And my family story, like I have, my grandparents came up from the South during the Great Migration and built a life up here, and they put their roots down here and created a really amazing home and a really amazing environment for me to grow up in as well. Not just my mom, but also me to grow up in. And so I think taking that and feeling so special about that, I was like, yeah, I want to continue to add to this story of this success of being able to move up here and say, like, we're going to make a life for ourselves. So yeah, I think those are the things that really inspire and motivate me.
That's awesome. Yeah. What resonates with me, with you, community. Community. That's so awesome. That is very complex.
It is, and people don't understand its value. No. Like I said, we're so individualistic nowadays. People don't understand your community is bigger than just your friend group. It's bigger than just the people you meet. Your community, your tribe, the people that you connect with are people that depend on you to be you so they can be themselves.
Absolutely. So, summing up, how do you get to where you are?
Knowing that people depend on me to do what I do. Because if I don't open a door, then it'll never get open. So there's some little girl there's some young man, there's somebody out there who's depending on me to do what I do in order for their next step in life to happen. Right. I depended on someone else to do what they were supposed to do, so my next step in life could happen. And so that's what I think also pushes me as well. And that's why I've gotten to where I am, is because I recognize I got to do these things, right? So someone else can also benefit from them, because someone else needs to see me be in my position that I am and go, yeah, I want that. I want that next. So yeah.
Taylor for president.
Taylor for president.
That's all that's resonating with me. Taylor for president.
I love that.
Let me ask you this, and this will be my last question. Let me ask you, what do you look forward to in the future?
Ooh, being on more stages, talking to more people, being a pillar in my community, doing really, really cool stuff. I got a lot of cool things coming up for 2024 that's about to happen for me. And I feel so blessed that it's about to happen for me. And I'm taking advantage of every opportunity I'm given, I promise you. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is that the fact that I'm going to be more visible to people. And I'm going to be able to show, like, if you just stick to your voice and know that, like, this is where I'm meant to be, and you are your authentic self everywhere, people are going to gravitate towards that and ask you, hey, can I ask something of you? Can you be a part of this for me? And be consistent in it. It's not going to come immediately, but it will come. I've been waiting years for some of these things to happen, and now that they're happening, I'm like, yes, I'm so happy I stuck to being myself.
That's really hard for some people, but you have to stick to yourself.
It naturally comes out, and I cannot hide it. I'm thankful that I can never be able to tone it down. I can't tone down for nothing, and I don't want to.
I don't want you to tone down. I love you
no
toned
plans.
up.
No plan. I'm turning the volume all the way up.
I love that. And you have to keep it that way.
Yes.
You have to keep it that way. Okay, listen, I have talked Taylor to death about her life. I hope that you have enjoyed our conversation with catching up with Taylor. She has some really good nuggets. We're going to also provide resources in the description about engineering conferences, and also Bantu and Bordeaux, that you can follow her and go along this learning wine journey that Taylor is on. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Subscribe. There will be more catching up sessions. And this is Catching Up with Taylor.